In this video, we'll learn how to make lightweight textured hair using Blender. This is part 4 of a series that goes through all the steps it takes to make a character in Blender. If you haven't been following along, check below for the free plugins you'll need. This is the hair we'll make, and we'll make this in stages or layers. So this is the first layer we'll make, and this hair covers the back of the neck, or the nape of the neck, and the back of the head. This hair is here so that way if you're animating and the hair blows up or backwards, you don't see a bald spot in the back of the head. This next layer will cover the sides, over her ear a bit, and the hairline. This is kind of a skull cap. And this one here is the main hair, and this is the main part you'll actually see most of the time. And so that's where we'll put most of the work. We'll make this hair using what I call hair tubes. It's basically one giant mesh. We can make different sizes for different levels of detail. And you can see it's one very light piece of geometry for the hair. And there is a path on the inside, and the mesh has a curve modifier, so you can deform the hair to match your head or make whatever shape you want. So it's pretty simple. And then we'll have the little details and grooves and colors made with procedural textures. Okay, let's get started. Let's hide the hair, toggle on the character layer. I made a little jumpsuit here just so it doesn't look funny all the time. So let's change this to body. And we will duplicate this. Let's lock our body. So this little caret here allows you to select it, and if it's an empty caret, then you can't select it. So let's see here. So you see right now it's a solid caret, and if you select it, it's fine. If you toggle this off, you can no longer select it. So I'm leaving this off because I don't want to mess with the body. I only want to mess with this duplicate of the body, that one. And by default, you can't see this. So go to this little drop down here and click this guy to toggle it on. Okay, so we have our body. Let's write jumpsuit. Let's go to the materials and delete. Let's make it white in viewport display, and it's already white. Where is it? Okay. So now we can go to edit mode, hit A to select everything, zoom in a little bit, and hit Alt S just to scale out. Whoops, too much. Scale out just a touch. Okay, go to face mode, and Alt Control, and then X and faces, and then L, X, faces. Let's make sure there's nothing else there. If you go to X-ray mode, you see these little dots. You'll see them floating around if I missed something, and it looks okay. So let's select that, X and faces, and then hit L a few times, X faces, and then X faces, L, X, and there. Okay, so now she's got a jumpsuit. Okay, let's Okay, her feet aren't touching the ground, and that's going to cause problems later. So let's move this down. But since we've got so much other stuff here and it all relates to it, like we have this head base mesh reference, it's kind of handy to have everything lining up. We might not ever use it again, but we might, and so it's not too hard for us just to change it. So and these we don't need to change. Okay, so let's grab all of that. Let's make sure, yeah, okay, that's good. Now let's move her foot down to the floor. So let's go like that. I'm going to actually leave it a little bit higher because I usually have shoes on her feet or their feet. And so I like to have it a little bit higher. So something like that. I think that's good. Okay. Now let's go and hide all that stuff we just unhid again. So collection, oh, we want that. Hide this one. Hide that one. We don't need that one. Okay. Okay, let's add our first hair tube. So let's hide a character. In fact, let's hide this stuff too. We can leave it templates. So we will move our 3D cursor to the world origin. So Shift S. For this section, we'll be hitting Shift S a lot. So Shift S1 goes to the world origin, or Shift S1, it's right here. Okay. Then we will hit Shift A to add a mesh, get a cylinder, which will be our hair tube. We'll make this 10. Radius will be, the width of this is how wide you want that chunk of hair to be. So I'm going to make it 1.5 inches, which is 3 inches diameter, or 3 inches wide. And let's see here. The depth will make it 1 meter, or around 3 feet. And I want to make this hair tube roughly the length of her hair here, also taking into account for how much it curves. I think it's too long, but it's okay because we can scale it later. Okay, and we don't need caps, nothing. And let's see, let's shape this. So let's go to edit mode, point mode, zoom in, and quick note, if you grab this and scale it in the X and it does weird things like that, where it moves the top, not the bottom, it's because you are not in X-ray mode. So make sure you're in X-ray mode, which is this thing here, this thing here. So you can see it's turned on now. And then SX to scale in the X, I'm going to do 0.5. The way I like to do the hair tubes is this half will be the part that's on the outside of the hair, right? So it's going to curve, it'd be like this here, and it's going to curve around the top of her head. So I like that part to be flat. So we will scale this in towards the 3D cursor. Yep. Pull that in. Let me pull this back a little bit too. And then this side here, I like to make it a bit thicker just to fill the mass between the gaps so it's covered up. So we will Control R to add a cut and grab these and X and dissolve edges. Okay, let's go back to the top view. Go to point mode and let's see here. Let's turn off proportional editing. So there's not much geometry here, but this is going to go across all the hair. So the lighter you can make this cross section, the faster it's going to, easier it'll be for your computer to process it. So just keep that in mind. And now, having said that, I'm going to add a bit more. So Control R, I can't see it here. What's going on? Control R and Control R. So I've got a little bit more. Oops. And I just want to make it so it's not so pointy for the hair on the side, so it rounds a little bit. And I want to move this over. And so the part of the reason why I'm doing this is because a couple of reasons. One, it's better to have more geometry on this side because that's the side that's going to be facing outwards towards the viewer. Also, we're going to split the UV map in half. So this back half will have a section of the texture map, and this front half will have another section. And so it's nice to have a break right down the middle. It's not necessary, but it's nice. Okay, so that's our hair tube profile. Then let's add some cuts, some loops, so you can shape it along the hair. So we will go to edit mode, Control R, and let's add like 12. Yeah, I think that's good. It should be enough for us to curve it. And then let's also scale this in. So let's go to top view. Well, we just have the top here. And then we will go to top view and we will scale it in towards the 3D cursor. Scale X, and we'll do 0.1. And then turn on proportional editing and scale it in the Y so it comes in a bit. Scale there. So this is going to be the root of the hair coming from the scalp, and it's going to come out and flare out a bit, then fall down on the side of her head and back, and it'll be a little taper at the very bottom. So let's grab this bottom here. And then if you go to, how do you go to bottom view? I thought it was Shift. No? Control? Okay, Control, number pad 7 is bottom view. Scale X, we will do 0.1. Okay, and then for the side view, it's nice to have this hair taper gradually. So let's scale on the Y. Ooh, that's no good. Proportional editing is on. Scale on the Y, and let's make this circle bigger. And I don't like how that's tapering. You can see it's making this kind of a S shape, and I want it to be more of a bullet shape. So let's go to this one here. Scale Y. And that's nicer. Yeah, I like that better. Scale Y, and let's just bring that. No, I want just the tip scaling. Okay, so I just made that. I hit scale and Y to activate scale, and while it's active, you can control your radius for proportional editing. So I'm just going to make that small. But now I can't see how much it's scaling because it's too far away. So I'm going to escape out of it, then zoom in and scale Y again, and now I can see it, and I know that the radius for the proportional editing is very small and it won't affect the other points. So I'm just do that. Okay, that's good. I originally used this hair tube technique a lot in my Studio Max days because I would 3D print these characters, and so I would close these caps instead of leaving them open and 3D print it, and it worked good. So that is our hair tube, and we want to move the top of this hair tube down to the floor. So to do that, well, there's two ways you can do this. Because I know that this is 1 meter tall, I can do GZ negative 0.5, and it's at the 0 point. But for this segment, we'll be moving these hair tubes around a lot using the 3D cursor. So let's show you that way. So if you grab this hair tube here, go to edit mode and select all these faces here. If you go to Shift S and cursor to selected, which is here, it brings that cursor to the very tip of whatever you have selected. Okay, and I want to bring this point to the world origin. So now go to object mode, and back in object mode, you'll see the origin for this object is over here. Okay, we want to bring that origin point for the object to this 3D cursor, which we set to be right in the middle of this area here. So we'll grab that object, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself and said this earlier. Object, set origin, let's transform, set origin, here it goes. Origin to 3D cursor, and here it goes. Okay. So the point is now there. So we can now move this object based on that point. So we want to move that to the world origin. To do that, we will hit Shift S and 1 to bring the cursor to the world origin. Okay, goes down there. Grab this, Shift S, and I think it's 8. Yeah, selection to cursor. Okay. So when you do this, Shift S, selection to cursor, it takes this selection, more specifically the origin point, this little orange dot for the current selection, and brings it to the 3D cursor, which is down here. There. So now it's down there. So the first time I learned this, it was kind of a brain twister, and after you get used to it, it's fine. So if it's confusing, I hope I explained that good enough. Okay, so here's our object. Now we need to add the path. So we will hit Shift A, curve, and path. There we go. We got our path. We'll rotate it. RY 90. And we want to bring this path also down to the very tip, just like we did with the mesh. So let's do the same thing again. Grab our object, edit mode, grab this very top point, Shift S, 2, cursor to selected. There you go. Okay, go to object mode, and then object, set origin to 3D cursor. Okay, so now if we move this, you can see, yes, again, our origin is at the very tip where we just had the 3D cursor. Then Shift S and 1, which brings our cursor back to the world origin, and then Shift S and 8, which brings our object with its 3D cursor, our object with its origin to the 3D cursor. Okay, let's scale this down so the curve is just a little bit longer than our hair tube. And that's pretty good. Now we need to make sure everything is not scaled or rotated. So we'll go to Item, and it's not rotated, which is good. It's not scaled, which is good. Okay, that's good. Check our curve here, our path, and this is rotated and it is scaled. So we will hit Control A and apply. You could do all transforms, but let's do it one at a time. So if you do rotation, it makes that 0, and that's good. Control A and scale, and that's good. Okay, so now we are set to add a curve modifier. So we'll grab our hair and go to modifiers, add modifier and curve. There we go. And then we will click this little eyedropper. You know what? Let's name these. Let's call it HT for hair tube 01. Okay. Let's call this HT 01 path. Maybe this is HT01 mesh. So the reason why I'm naming these the same first 5 characters is so that way if you organize by name, this HT01 mesh will always be just before HT01 path. So they're always kind of together because we'll be clicking these over here a lot from the list instead of in the 3D viewport. So it's important that these are kind of easy for you to understand. We could also put it in groups too. So let's do that. New collection. Let's call this HT. And we'll grab these two, hit M and move. So if you click a couple objects, hit M, you can move them. You can also do it here. You can grab these and hit M, and you can move them to this collection here. Okay, so now it's nice and neat. And you can see the other hair, I did the same thing. All these guys, I had them, yeah, all inside a collection. Okay, so now let's add our modifier. So we will click this curve object, eyedropper, click our our path, and something really weird happens. What is that? That's weird. So I don't know why it does that, but go through all these until you see the one that looks the closest, and it's probably going to be -Z. So that's kind of okay, but it's all skinny, and I don't know why it does that. And it's also it's the wrong orientation. So, the best way I found to do this was, let's see here, turn this on, grab this, go to edit mode, and ARZ90, and then pop out. And okay, so now this is back to the way, at least the orientation I wanted this. Okay, but it's too small. So let's go back into edit mode and let's turn these on. Let's do that. Oh, that's cool. So now we can see the orange is the actual geometry and the gray is the modified geometry. So I want this to be wider than it is. So actually I want the gray one to be as wide as the orange one. So we need to make the orange one even wider. So the gray one's wider. It's really weird. So scale X2 makes that wider, and scale Y2 makes it wider. So now this is the size I originally wanted it to be. I think. Does that look right? How big is that? Let's see here. No, it's not wide enough. Okay, so then we will make this bigger yet. Scale X 1.25. Scale X 1.5. That looks right. Scale Y 1.5. Okay, that now looks correct. Now, something interesting to note, because I modified the size of this, the scale of this, while in edit mode, it left the scale all at 1. It didn't change anything. And that's because you're in edit mode. If you're outside of edit mode and scaled it, scale X2, you'll see it changes it here also, and that just screws everything up, especially for rigging. So it's kind of good practice to keep this always at 1. Okay, so let's see if this worked. Let's grab our path here, or you can grab it here. HTO1 path. Grab a point, and hey, it did not work. It's rotating funny, so that's not good. So let's try this. Grab this, hit edit mode, RZ -90, and then go back to the path. So what you want to happen is when you pull the curve out this way, this hair should flatten out. So let's try it. Grab that. Okay, so that's good. It's flattening out. But the wrong side is flattening out. We don't want that. We want this side's flatter. This side is pointy. We want the flat side. So let's grab this again. RZ180. Now we'll grab our path. Grab that point. G to move it. Okay, so now that's what we want. So we'll take this hair, we'll bring it, actually no, we're not done yet. Okay, so let's add a UV for this thing here. So let's do that, turn off X-ray, go to edge mode, and we will Alt left and Shift Alt left. So now we've got both sides selected. Go to edge, mark seam, which is right here. So this basically separates, as far as UVs are concerned, it separates one side from the other. So if you go to face mode and hit L, which selects everything, now it stops at the boundary, which is this red line and this open surface there. Same thing for the back. Okay, so that's good. And let's go to our UV editing workspace. And let's go to here. So now, so for our hair texture, we want the hair texture to follow straight here, and then towards the bottom, we want the hair texture to curve inwards just like the geometry does. So to do that, we need to make sure that this UV layout stays perfectly vertical. So we need to keep it nice and vertical. We also want to scale this UV down so it matches this basic size. So we will hit L. And now, since we've hit L, we've got them selected. All the faces in the back are selected, but they're also selected in the UV editor. So the UV editor is kind of like this mesh geometry laid out flat. Turn off proportional editing and GX. Move it aside. And now we'll grab the front. And so this got split funny. This is over here, and it should be lined up with the rest of it. If I do a UV, if I unwrap it, it makes it funny. Let's see here. No, it's not good. So if I unwrap it, this is still nice and clean, but if I use the procedural textures, these straight lines for the texture, which goes straight across, I can see this grid here, it all goes straight across. It'll cut straight through the UV, but it won't. The curves for our texture will come down here and they'll start to come outwards, and we don't want that. We want these UVs to be all straight. So let's undo that. Instead, we'll just move it in place. So if you grab this here, this tells you that this edge here is the same here. It should be connected there. This one here should be connected there, but we don't want that. We just want to have this whole front section in one chunk. This one stays in its own chunk. So we'll grab this, GX, pull it over here, scale it in, and that's probably good enough. Okay, let's move this closer. So now if we want to make the proportion of this UV roughly the same as this here. So we will pull this in till it's something like that. And bring that over here. And yeah, that's good. Okay, so now we've got our hair all UV'd. And let's call this, let's change this. Let's call this hair tools, sorry, not hair tools, hair tube, large, LG, 01 mesh. And we'll call this hair tube, LG, 01 path, because we're also going to make a medium and a small. Okay, so let's grab this guy here, click and shift click, and let's see here. We will shift duplicate, GX1, okay, so now I've got that, and let's see here. We want to make, this will be the large one. We'll make one that's half the size of this large hair. So we'll grab this. And we want to scale it around its own center point. So around this orange dot. So we will A to select all. Change this to bounding box center. Scale X. I'm in edit mode, yeah. So go make sure you're in edit mode. Scale X 0.5, scale Y 0.5. Okay, this didn't scale correctly. And the reason why is because when you pick bounding box center, it scales it based on the size of the average. They take the average of the whole selection and find the center point, and that's not what we want. We want to go to the object origin. So, well, I don't know how to do that. So we will do this. So we'll grab our object, Shift S and 8, which is cursor to selected. Sorry. Shift S2, which is cursor to selected. Then we'll grab our mesh again, go to edit mode. Let's go to the top view so we can make sure it doesn't act up. Scale X 0.5, It didn't work again because I need to go to 3D cursor. Scale X 0.5. Okay, that's good. Scale Y 0.5. Okay. Now we're working. So since we made this hair thinner than the first one, we need to make our UV thinner also. It's kind of a good practice to make your texture maps over here a square. And oftentimes people will have several pieces of hair using one map, and they'll have different types of textures in different sections. So it might be good for us to just move this texture for the medium-sized hair to the side. So let's move it. And we don't want to overlap the first hair. So I'm going to use my 3D cursor and shift right click to mark the ending, because I know this is where the big hair UV ends. I can show you here. If you go here, edit. So this is the UV for the big hair. It's right there. So let's go to here, go to edit mode, A to click all, GX. Let's move this over here. And now let's scale this down so this front half is roughly the same proportion as this front half. Scale X. Something like that. Okay. Let's just make sure this is not scaled, and it's not, because whenever I scaled it, I was in edit mode. And let's call these two medium. So MD, let's get rid of this 001. And then the other one is this here, LG to MD 001. Now, again, the reason why I'm naming these alphabetically so it sorts nicely is because we're going to be copying these over and over and over again, making a whole bunch of strands. And it's going to, it'll copy it and it'll add a 001 to it. And so, when you get a whole bunch of them, it's just a huge list, and it's kind of hard to find these points. So you just go and say, well, I got this hair. This is medium 03. I need to find the curve for it. So you go to medium 03 and then you find the curve. So it gives you another way to select things. Or you could just go and say, where is that path? There it goes. So it's just another way to make life easier for yourself. So medium, okay, so now we've got our medium, and let's make a small one. So let's grab that, Shift T, GX1. Let's move Shift S. We'll move our 3D cursor to the selected, which is 2, and go to edit mode. Let's go to top view so we can watch this and see if we mess up again. SX 0.5, SY 0.5. Okay, this time it worked. We know that this UV right here is from the medium hair, so we can just shift right click to mark where this UV stops, GX to move it over, and then scale this UV down so it's roughly this proportion. Scale X. Okay, so I think that's good. And if we grab all 3 of our hair tubes, you can see the UVs, nothing is overlapping, and each UV is roughly half the width of the previous one. Okay, so now we've got our hair tubes all made and ready to position. But before we start positioning these, let's Let's create a material for it. We're going to make a procedural hair texture. And this here is a screen grab of the hair texture. This is what you'd see in the shading window. So this, you can see numbers here. This shows you the sequence of which you make each of these nodes. And a little star means you can plug in this node to your texture and you can see what it should look like. So here, number 5 should look like this one, and number 8 should look like that one. So this way you know you're on track. Okay, so let's add our material. So we'll grab our hair, pull this out here, go to our materials panel, click new, double click, and let's call this hair 01. That's hair 01. When you create a new material, this node and this node are made automatically. So number 1 is already made. We now need to add number 2, 3, and 4. 2 tells this material to use the UV coordinates we just made. This mapping here adjusts how the map is made, like you can scale it. And here, noise texture, this creates kind of like a random noise texture. So we'll attach this noise texture and then adjust these numbers to adjust how the noise looks. Hope that makes sense. So let's go to shading, zoom in here, turn on materials in the viewport, and we'll zoom into our material. So this one here, yep, that's our material. So we will do Shift A, S, type in TX to get our texture coordinates, Shift A, S, MAP to add our mapping, and Shift A, S to add our noise. There we go. So you can see, let's see. In our example image, our reference image, this little star shows you what this node should look like. I'll show you how you can preview that. So if you go into the shading panel, say I want to see what this node looks like, I can drag that to the base color. You can see, okay, that's what it looks like. So that's how you can preview where those little stars are. Okay, so we'll grab our texture coordinates and grab the UV and drag it to vector. This tells our material to use the UVs we just made. Attach vector to vector. This will allow this mapping node to adjust how the noise looks. And now let's plug it in. Okay. Looks nothing like hair. But if you play with these things here, you can see it adjusts how this this noise looks. So we can, adjust this to a higher number so it gets smaller. And then we can make this a lower number. So that'll get longer. So let's say 0.1. Maybe that's 2 even, so 0.15. Okay, I think that's pretty good. You can play with these too, and it's nice you can see it real time. So if you adjust this, it makes it a finer texture. And if you adjust this, it's kind of like a contrast. So let's make it a bit more punchy. Nope, too much. Maybe 0.15. And roughness adjusts how crisp or soft it is. 0.5 is fine. And distortion kind of adds an extra noise to it. Let's go like that. And you know what? I think this should be 0.1. I think that's, yeah, I think that's good. And you can adjust this yourself to get the look that you like. Okay. Okay, first let's group these with Control J. This just helps to keep things organized. Right click, rename noise. Let's turn on that. Okay. Shift AS, RAM for color ramp. Drop that right in between there. You can see the curve automatically updates. So nothing happens initially, but if you change color, yeah, if you change a color, you can see the whole color updates. So let's get this color to be the way you like it. So let's add a couple points here. Going to try and make her blondish, like a strawberry blonde or redhead. So let's do that. Make this a little more yellowy. It's kind of dark. So let's go to turn off the scene lights and world lights. Let's see, that's good. And let's make this a little bit darker. What's nice about this is it's plugged in, so you can see it real time and you can adjust it the way you like it. So let's go for something like that. Okay, and then we will add a ramp. Right now the texture is even all the way across, but we can add a gradient, so it'll be light here, dark here, and light there, or whatever we want. So Shift AS, MAP for mapping. Shift AS, GRA for gradient texture. And then Shift AS, RAM for ramp, color ramp. Okay, so same thing, we get UV to vector, vector to vector, color to FAC. So we can preview this so we can see what we're doing while we're doing it. So we want this to be a gradient, so light to dark to light, or whatever we want. Right now, you can't see anything because the orientation is the wrong way, so mess with these here. So it's not right. Let's try this one. Okay, there we go. So let's see here. Let's add, so let's get some kind of ramp going on. And then we're going to combine this ramp with this color. Shift AS, mix, add a mix RGB. So let's see here. So this is what we'll use to mix the two. So the mix shader, it's got two elements, color 1 and color 2. And if you adjust the FAC, it adjusts the strength of each one of these. So right now, if you have it at 1, it's all red. If you have it at 0, it's all white. So the FAC adjusts how much is red or white. So we're going to add color to color 1 here. So now you can see if it's 1, it's all red. If it's 0, it's this texture. So we're going to combine. So now we're going to change this FAC. So that way, instead of being all red, it'll be red at the top, this texture at the middle, and red at the bottom. So we do that by attaching it to the FAC. Well, it's the reverse, but you get the idea. So now it's red here. The red is up here. The middle is this texture, and the bottom is red. So if we make this there, okay? And you can play with this also to get the look you like. So, you know. Okay. So let's join some of these together. Control J. Let's rename this ramp. We can join these two and call it like a color mix or color combine. Okay. Let's go and add a bump map. Shift A, S, B, U, M. Add that there. We'll use the same noise texture and drag that to height and drag normal to normal. It's hard to see because the lighting is super even. So let's add some, or turn on our scene lights and world and unhide that. Okay, so now you can see we've got a texture there. No bump. Oh, let's go to edit mode, A, face shade smooth. Let's also go to, where is it? Normals, auto smooth, 180. Okay, where were we? Oh yeah. Okay, so we can see we've got our bump, no bump. Let's make this like 0.5. Let's also add Shift A, S, a Anisotropic shader. So this will preview this, plug this straight into here so we can see it. And you can see it's this big metal thing. Let's color this a bit. And let's use the same noise. That's that. We'll go to normal. And let's use the same UVs. Okay. So it's this nice reflective shiny thing. Unplug that. And let's combine these two materials. So Shift A, S, M, I, X. We will do a mix shader. This was a mixing color. This is mix shader. Works the same way. Plug that in, plug that in, plug that in. And you can see this is our shader, and this is all metal. So you can adjust it to how you like it. Okay. Okay, let's add a sub D to this. Go to sub D surface. Okay, we want the hair to vignette out in individual strands, or what looks like individual strands. So we need to add a transparency to it. So to do that, we will Shift A S RAM for ramp. We'll need 2 of these. Shift A S D MAT for a math node. MAT for a math node. And a transparent TRA. Make sure you don't pick translucent, get transparent. Okay, so similar to how this ramp makes it dark in the middle and light on the top and bottom, we want to do something like that, but inverse it. So we'll grab this guy, plug that in here, grab this guy, plug it in there, and we will, let's see here, want to add some points, make this dark. So it'll be black is transparent, so we'll make the roots transparent and the tips transparent. So we'll drag that up here. We'll make the bottom kind of fade like that. Okay. Now we're going to bump it up by doing a divide. So we'll grab this one and put that there. And then we're going to divide it by this noise texture. Okay, so we can see what that looks like. Okay, so now you can see the ramp gets opaque in the middle and transparent on the sides using that same hair texture. But let's bump it up some more. So we'll grab this guy, attach to that, grab this one to here so we can see it. So, well, can't see much yet, but if you drag this, you can see it gets punchier. So let's add, maybe not. So something like that. Yeah. So, I mean, you can tweak this to your liking, but basically we've got this black color is transparent. So we got that. So now we need to combine these together. So we will, we'll add another mix shader here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this one here and this one here. And then we will, what this does, okay. So if we go to 0, it's all color. If we go to 1, it's, okay. So we need to go to our material and go to the viewport display and make this alpha hashed. Okay, so now it goes invisible. So back to here, if you go to here, it's all color. Over here, it's all transparent. So we're going to adjust that with our transparency map up here. And you should see, that's the exact opposite of what I wanted. Okay, here we go. Okay, so now we've got a hair tube that goes transparent at the roots, looks like strands of hair, and transparent at the tips, and I think that's too much. So let's pull this down. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, okay. So now we've got our hair tube all ready to attach to the head. Okay, let's go and make some hair. So we will go to the modeling window. Let's turn on our shortcuts. We will hide, hide the reference images. Let's lock out these templates by turning off the selectables. So not selectable. These lights, let's lock those out. Let's also bring our character back so we can build the hair around our character. And let's make our character unselectable. And let's look at our hair to see what we're going to make. Okay, so let's hide these. These are reference samples. And let's hide that and that. So this is what we want to make first. Let's hide these. So first we want to make this large chunk right in the back. And then we want to make these two side large chunks. So this hair that goes in the back of the head like that, it's really there just to plug the holes. So we'll use big pieces. You're not going to see them that much, and we can make them nice and thick, and you just don't move them that much when you animate them. Okay, so let's hide that. Let's go to our hair. Oh, forgot to apply the colors. So we already did the UVs and everything for these. So let's grab these two and then shift click the one with the hair texture we want. Okay. Control L, which copies, and I'm going to copy the materials, and now they all have the same material. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so this technique, you end up creating lots of hair and lots of hair meshes. You can see mesh, and we create lots of hair paths. And so it gets confusing. And these are not named correctly. So this is hair tube large, mesh, large path. This is hair tube medium, mesh, and medium. This should be small. Okay. This should be hair tube small. O1 mesh. And the path that goes along with it should be small path. I could have sworn I already did this. Okay, so we've got small mesh and path, medium mesh and path, and large mesh and path. Okay, that's good. Let's also make these same folders or collections. So new, Nape, side, and top side. Okay. Let's grab our hair, Shift D to move. M to move, and move it to a folder, find the folder we want, select it to move it there. Let's go to the side view, move this. So we want to move, this is so I'll show you the workflow for a few pieces of hair. It's going to be the same thing over and over and over again for all the hair. So let's just walk through a couple of them. So G to move it, I'm moving the root to where I want the hair to come from. It's going to start there. And if you go to Control 1, you go to Back View. If you hit Number Pad, you go and look at what you have selected. So you could move this manually, but it's not perfectly centered. It's a little bit off. I'll exaggerate it for this example. So that's, you know, it's not perfectly centered. And in my imagination, Blender works better when you move things exactly. Don't know if that's true or not. So what we can do, usually if you want to just move a mesh, you know, moves the origin point to center, you just click here and hit 0 and it moves. But it didn't move, only the origin moved. You could similarly grab the path, hit 0, and the mesh and path move, which looks good, but when you click on it, the origin has not moved. And this is because the mesh is being modified by the curve modifier right there. So it's weird. So what you could do, so there's two ways to solve this. And as you're laying down your hair, sometimes you'll notice that the origin for your mesh is messed up. So I'll show you how to fix that. So I can't see my path. So I grab the path, grab the hair that I want to mess with. Then I find what number this is, click the corresponding number, and now I have the path, and you can see the origin is where it should be. I want the 3D cursor to be there, so we'll hit Shift S and 2 to bring the 3D cursor to the origin. Then I'll grab the mesh, hit Object, and set origin to 3D cursor. So that's one way to solve it if you see that your origin for the mesh is in the wrong place. Okay. But what if we want to avoid that and just move this without changing all that? So we can do this. We can grab this or the path. You can grab either. Go to the X and copy whatever's there. Then Shift and then Control Shift. And pick both of those things we want to move. And we can just hit G and X to move it on the X axis. But which way do we go? So we want to go this way towards the right. And if we look at this transform gizmo, you can see that we're going opposite of the red X and the line, which means we're going negative. If we had wanted to go to the left, we'd be going positive. Okay, so we'll hit G and X, and since we're going negative, we will enter negative on the keyboard, and then we will hit Control V to paste, and it moves the mesh and the path exactly to the 0. Okay, so we have the hair placed. Now we want to shape it. So let's grab the mesh, find its corresponding path. I know this doesn't make sense because there's only 2 objects here, and so of course it's the other one, but when you have like 30, this helps a lot. So grab the mesh, pick the corresponding path, go to edit mode, and just drag the path until the hair is the shape you want it to be. Up by the scalp, feel free to add lots of points in your path because that's not going to be moving at all. You know, I take it back. It doesn't matter too much because we won't be animating the path. We'll be animating the hair. So add as many points as you want. And there. Okay. Nice little curve. So we have the path in place and the hair is shaped like we want it, but it's really too long. It's weird. So let's fix that. make sure our transform around 3D cursor is active. Go to edit mode, A to select all, and let's go to SZ to shorten it. And that's too short. Let's make it so just the tip of the path is there, so you can select the path that way if you want to. Okay, let's make it wider also. So we're going to scale this out a bit in Y, like that. And let's see here. So that's pretty good. Make sure you don't scale it in object mode. If you scale it in edit mode, the scale stays zeroed out. If you scale it in object mode, then this will get messed up. Okay, so now we want to shape this hair to follow the head. So let's go back into edit mode. Now, so this is where this gets this method of modeling hair gets weird. So you would think you just grab it and hit G and move it, but you see, I'm hitting G and I'm moving my mouse to the left, and this is what happens. So click, now move to the left, and you can see it's really like, what is going on? It's not working. This is because this hair is being modified by the curve modifier, and so it's just weird. So if you turn this off, you can see that this is what the shape of the actual hair. So when I'm clicking G and moving my mouse to the left, this is what's happening. But when you turn the modifier back on, you can see that move here, that's what happened. So you have to understand in your head how the hair is actually shaped, even though you can't see it, and then move it according to that knowledge. Okay, really weird. You get used to it. So let's see, what can we do here? No. I thought there was a way to ghost it in. Maybe not. Okay, so how do we do this? It's weird. What do I do? So you can grab it and you can hit G and Y, and well, that's not going to work. Okay, G X. Okay, that's closer, but you know, I also want it to be wider. So let's go to G Y, so it's wider. Oh, I want proportional editing on G Y, and make this bigger. Okay, that's better. Maybe pull this towards the skull, GX. So it's, you know, it's a bit weird, but you get used to it. G, too much. Okay. Oh shoot, only half of it moved. Okay, so let's turn on our mirror, our symmetry modifier. So this too is going to work funny. So let's just test it first. Hit X like you think it should be, and let's just free hit G and see if it mirrors, and it does not. Let's try Y, and okay, that looks good. So let's move this hair in shape again. I'm going to grab more this time. G, Y. Nope. G, X. And G, Y. Okay, I'm going to maybe pull my mirroring. Yeah. Pull that in some. Let's see here. go to point mode and grab that point there. If you can't see it, you can go to this mode and hit Shift Alt Z to go to X-ray. And okay, I've got it selected. Then GX and pull it back and scroll that. Okay. I think I want to cover more of this bottom part because this hair is covering more of this area here. So let's go to edge mode, grab a couple of these, X. That's good here. GX. Maybe a little bit more. GX. Now GY. Okay, that's pretty good. So now I've got the hair kind of covering the empty spots I want to cover. And let's add our second hair. Let's see here. So same things. Grab it, Shift D to duplicate. You'll see now this has a 002 instead of 001. Hit M, HT, Nape. Same thing. Let's move this to where we want it to start. Up there. Let's start around the same place. And let's move this towards the center, GX. And since we're not moving this accurately with this transform information here, it works like you'd expect. But let's move this there. So you can see that this hair is totally not following this skull. It's at an angle, peeling off. That's okay. All we're concerned about is making sure we get the root where we want it to be. Okay, so now let's bring our 3D cursor back to the root, Shift S and 2. And then let's shape our path. So let's see here, grab that, it's number 2, path number 2, edit mode. Let's grab some edges. So I will want to explain, let's see, so if you move the second vertices of your path to the left or right of the first one, then it changes the orientation of this mesh. So see, if you hit G and you just move it around, you can see it just kind of moves around. That's how this path modifier works, the curve modifier works. It's okay. So what I like to do, I like to use that fact to easily set the angle. So move that point close. I'm going to hit G. Oops, I have proportional editing on, turn that off. G, and now I can get this kind of where I want it. I'm going to make this hair wider. So let's go to the mesh, edit mode, A, scale in Y, and yep, that's good. You know what? I don't want the whole thing wider. I want more of the top wider. So I'm going to go to path mode and Alt click, Alt Shift click, turn proportional editing on and scale Y. So it's a nice gentle slope like that. Okay, so that's good. And now we want to shape the path. So we will grab, well, let's see here, number 2, grab path number 2, go to edit mode, and let's move this around with proportional editing turned off. So G, So this will be the exact same workflow as the last one. So I'm going to run out of things to say about this because it's the exact same thing. But let's just watch me flounder about here and try and make hair. E to extrude, E to extrude, and okay, I think that's nice. Maybe not perfect. Let's move this in a bit, and then let's move it out at the very end. Okay, that's kind of good. Yeah, good enough. Too long, let's make it shorter. Go to edit mode, make sure 3D cursor is on up here. A to select all, SZ to shorten it, and it is shorter. Let's see here. So I don't like how this hair back here is not really laying flat against this hair here. This hair piece is going to be below the rest of the hair, so I want it to be a little bit flatter. Filling space is good, but I feel like it needs to be flatter. So what we can do is go to edit mode, which we are in, Alt click to select a loop, turn on proportional editing, which is on, and SZ. SZ. Oh, sorry. RZ, and we can rotate the hair. S is scale, in case anyone is wondering. R is rotate. RZ, and it's kind of nice. You can get some cool shapes. You can, really twist it up if you wanted to. Let's see here. I think I'll move the tip a bit also. RZ, so it's like that. Okay, that's pretty good. Then let's pull in some of these faces to fit the back of the head. So let's grab these and GY. Oops, turn off. We'll leave proportional editing on and just make it smaller. GX. Where? Oh, here we go. And let's grab some of these. GX. Maybe grab a couple of those. So I'm trying to keep this a little bit thick. Maybe we can make this thicker here because I'm trying to fill the space. So scale Y, no, yes. Scale Y, no. Scale X, no, I think scale Y. Let's flatten these out a bit too. Let's rotate it. Okay. Maybe close that path up a little bit. So grab number 2, pull that in. Okay, so that's a good underlying hair. I think it's a little thick back there. Let's flatten it out some. Okay. Yeah, I think it's okay. So you should spend more time than this. I'm just going to kind of burn through it for the sake of the tutorial and time. So we've got this the way we want it shaped. Let's go to add modifier and find our mirror. Oh, and it didn't work. So that's because mirrors around the origin, but you can also use a different object's origin. So let's unlock our character, because I know that character's origin is at 0. And find our mirror modifier. Oh. Leave these off. You know how we're modeling the body? You want to leave merge and clipping on because we're merging the two halves together. This, we don't want these to merge, so make sure those are off. Click mirror object. This tells the mirror command what object's origin to use, and then click that and it mirrors. Okay, there we go. So our nape is done. And let's make sure it's all in the right folder. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that is our nape of the hair, and we're going to do that like 15 more times. Okay, so let's build the sides of the hair. Let's preview it here. So we'll get a couple of pieces of geometry to, I guess, start above the sideburns and go over the ears. And it'll come on the inside of this hair. And then we'll put a couple pieces to cover the hairline. So let's do that. So let's grab, I think we should grab the middle one for the ones over the ear. So we'll Shift D to duplicate, M to move, put this into side. Let's make sure it's in, okay, it's in the right place. Go to here and let's move this. Did I hit? What? G. Okay. I think I hit H, but I thought I was trying to hit G. It's hard for me to see my keyboard while I'm recording this. Because of my microphone setup. So let's get this in place here. And let's go to path, edit mode, grab these. You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to move the 3D cursor. So we just placed the hair and path where we want it to start from. Grab one of those two, Shift S and 2. And now the 3D cursor is at the origin. Now let's shape the hair. So let's grab, shape the path, edit mode, A. I'm gonna just make this shorter because I want some detail over the ear. Let's go to side view. Remember, once you move this, let's turn off proportional editing. Once you move it, it controls how the hair is oriented. So which in this case is not going to work because you want the hair to go backwards, and it's going to make it kind of a horizontal. So that's okay. So let's just make this path follow the flow we want it to have. So something, let's see here. Something like that. I'm trying to imagine like this is, 2 inches wide. So I'm trying to imagine what this looks like following this path when it's 2 inches wide. And I think that's right. Also, you can see the mesh is too boxy and polygonal. If you grab that, go to edit mode, A and SZ, and we'll scale it smaller like that. You can see now it's sharper. I mean, not sharper, it's got more resolution, but it's still pretty boxy. So you can hit Control R and click it, Control R, click, and you can see the path just gets, the mesh gets smoother and follows the path better. Okay, so let's keep editing that path. Go over here, let's see here. Let's bring this in some. Let's have it come in a bit. Oops. Extrude. 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 Let's like, yeah. Okay. I think that's pretty good. And this next layer of hair is very similar to it, so I'm just gonna grab these two and Shift D to duplicate it. I'm just gonna move it out of the way for now. And I'll just use the same thing to make the next one. So let's rotate this a bit so it's in the proper shape. Let's remember that this is actually in this orientation, so let's keep that in mind as we're rotating it. We're going to grab a loop, turn on proportional editing, and rotate it in Z, something like that. But what we're going to see is our Z, it's going to look like that. So weird, but it's low geometry. Oops. And you can scroll your mouse wheel with proportional editing to control how much influence it has. So I think that's good. Let's check the bottom here. RZ. It's you can see this dotted line. It's because it's rotating around the 3D cursor. It's okay. You can just kind of do that. Too much. Okay. I think that's pretty good. Let's edit the path a bit. So number one, grab that, and well, there's a hole there, but I think it's okay because, oops, we're gonna have more hair over that. No, you know what? This one's under, so this one probably shouldn't have holes. So let's move this back. You will right click and subdivide to add a point. And we will grab the mesh, edit mode, face mode, alt click, turn proportional editing on, RZ, and let's narrow the influence to that. Okay. Anyway. Oh, there's a big bald spot there. So let's fix that. So remember when we want to cover more of this here, but when we move where the hair starts, we want to do that in object mode. So let's bring the root to where we want the hair to start. Shift S and 2, so our origins at the root. And let's see here. Let's pull it in just a bit. And then we'll go to edit mode and grab this. Let's check out our mesh. So you can see this is I guess the biggest problem with this method is as you're editing, once you start rotating this thing, it doesn't scale and move clean. So if you hit scale X, you can see it's all skewed, or scale Y, you can see it's all messed up. So, you know, this is not the perfect method, but hopefully if you don't mess with it too much, you know, it still works. So you can see right now, rotating is still working for me. Rotating, it seems like it works pretty good. Once you start grabbing certain sections and moving them, that's when it gets weird. So like say let's take this and GX, no, GY. Well, it's still working, but if you mess with it a lot, it starts to get weird. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Excuse me. Let's get this next layer on here. You know what? I want this wider. So it's scale X, increase, scale X. If you, for proportional editing, you can pick different profiles that affects, I guess, the rates of the influence. So this one, it's hard to explain. This one, the curve starts off stronger and it tapers off, where this one, the influence or curve starts off shallower and it slowly gets stronger. So it just, I guess, just play with it until you figure out what you like. Scale X. Scale X. I don't like that. Okay, I think I'm once again wasting time. Okay. Oh, I made it worse. Okay, let's put it back. Okay, so that's done. Now let's do the same thing one more time. Let's move this in place. So it starts, you know, kind of here. Let's grab, let's see, this is number 2. Grab path number 2. Let's go to the side view and shape this. And let's see here. Let's see here. Let's just shape this so it's nice and flowing, but I kind of want it to come out wider. And we can probably curve it to avoid that collision. Okay. Okay, I think that's good. Oops. Then let's grab the mesh, go to edit mode, face mode. Oh, I forgot. I wonder if that messed it up. I didn't move my 3D cursor. Shift S2. Okay, I guess I didn't move the mesh or the path at the very start, so at the very root of it, so it's okay. Let's go to edit mode, A, and let's see here. No, we want to rotate. So Alt click RZ and something want this to be parallel with the scalp. In fact, I want this to be parallel with the scalp. So we'll go to object mode, shift S2, edit mode, it's still selected, RZ, so that's the reason why I want this to be parallel with the scalp. You can see how the hair, it tapers out, but it's a tube, so there's an inside, I don't know if you can see it, there's a transparent map on the outside and the inside of the hair. So kind of like ideally only the outside one's visible. I guess it's okay. But either way, if this edge is parallel with the head, it'll look more like the hair is just flowing into the head, which is what we want. Okay. Shift S2. Let's go back to the path and pull this in. Nope. I almost made a mistake. So we grab the whole thing, G, and pull the whole thing in. And then grab the path, edit, and pull this out. Okay. That's better. And I think I want to pull this out somewhat. So it's grab these. No, you know what? I think the path will work better. Subdivide this guy and grab these guys and pull them out. So GX. I'm taking careful not to move this very first one. Okay. Grab the mesh. Oops. Proportional editing and RZ. Okay. I think that twist is actually bad. So it's RZ and kind of untwist it. Okay, that's better. I actually want this one wider. So let's go to edit mode. I think this is not going to work. Scale X. Yeah, it doesn't work because this path is twisting. This mesh is twisting. But up here, it's not twisting too much. So we can do that. Because I wanted this to cover more of the scalp here. Edge, scale X. Okay. So this messes with things, but I'm going to rotate it. So rotate Y. Okay, just, there you go. Okay. Well, that's not good. But okay, let's just move on. We can fix all that later. But let's not dilly-dally too much on this. Okay, so let's get some hair for the hairline. So we'll grab that, Shift D to duplicate, and let's move this to the top side. The side. Here we go. Let's move this in place. Let's see, let's do the middle one first. So let's go over there. Let's go to front view, side view. And we want this to be on center, so let's check our information window here. It is on X, it is this amount, copy it. And I want to move it negative this amount because it's opposite this red line. So G, X, negative, Control V. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, so when I selected these two, so you can see how these two are both orange. That's because this dimension here is referencing something else that I had selected previously. I'm not sure what. So if you just shift click shift click one of these two that you're moving, you can see one of them turns yellow. So now this number is reflecting this object here, the yellow one. So now we can Control C, get that, and then we will hit G, X, negative, Control V, and now it moves in place. Okay, now let's grab our path. Go to edit mode, and let's drag this in place. I'm just going to get these roughly closer first. Okay. And let's just shape this. So I'm just getting the shaping the control path outside of the head slightly, knowing that when I scale the mesh, it'll be okay. So now I need to Shift S and 2. So our 3D cursor is at the root of the hair. Edit mode, A, S, Z, and scale, and the whole thing squishes up. Okay. She looks really funny. Looks like Mrs. T for you old folks out there who know who Mr. T is. Okay, so let's go back to our path. Let's go to object mode, grab our path, go to edit mode, and E to extrude. Pull that down a bit. And I think these can go closer. And I think I can make this hair not as thick. So let's grab this, go to edit mode, and SX, no, S, that was Y, SX. So the hair on the sides and back here, we were making them bulky. So it hides all the holes and it takes up space. Up on top, the hair wants to be as thin as possible because when you layer on the main hair, you don't want this hair to take up too much space because the hair on the top of the head it's smaller, it has less volume, and so if you're layering new hair on top of this, the whole thing gets really bulky or puffy. So make this top part as thin as possible. SY, let's make it a bit thinner. You can kind of do a quick preview to see how it looks. And I think we'll get the path to be a bit closer. Like that. And then let's curve this hair a bit. So we'll grab that. What do we do? Let's grab some of these faces. Oops, like that. Let's get mirror on and GX. Oh. GX. And that's pretty good. Let's pull some of these down. GX, pull that down. So right here, I'm looking at the very tips of this hair. You can see how it looks like it's doubled. That's because this hair textures on the let's see here. So you can see this is actually an open tube, and so that hair texture is on the front side and on the back side. And on the back side, I don't know if you can see that, it is halfway sticking through the actual scalp. That's why over here you can see only the tips of that texture because it's only halfway exposed. So I'm going to try and get this hair so that only the outer texture is visible right where the hairline starts. So GX, let's pull it down like that, and maybe pull it a bit more. What's going on? That was weird. So that looks pretty good on the front edge there. Yes, this is popping through here. Let's fix that. So let's grab that. GX. Turn off proportional editing and pull that up. And pull this one up. And that's good. Okay. Yeah, I like that. I think we should leave it like that. That's cool. Okay, let's grab some more hair here. Shift D to duplicate. M side. Let's go to side view and move this up. So this is, I'm doing the same thing over and over again. I'll go through it a few times because it's a bit of a weird process. So if you've got it down, just skim through the rest of this video and just look for, I guess, the beginning where I lay out each piece of hair so you can kind of get the download and the strategy for it. But for the actual technique, it's the same thing over and over again. So I'll talk through it a few times, and I think for the rest of it, I'll probably just do it and record it, and maybe I'll like speed it up some. Okay, so placing the root where I think it should be. So you can see here, let's see, this is a good example of some weirdness. So the hair looks like it's, I don't know, around 3 inches wide. And it looks like this gap from the hair here all the way over to there is like 4.25 inches or so. So we'll need 2 of these instead of one. The example had just one piece there. So I'm just trying to figure out where to place it. So let's see here. So I think if I put one here and one there, it'll overlap on the side and over here. So let's do that. So let's move this. Oops. Like, I'm just checking to see if my root is right outside the skull, and that looks pretty good. Shift S and 2, so now our 3D cursor's right in place. Let's see, number 4 mesh, number 4 path. Grab these points, and let's just shape it. So I'm just gonna get all these just closer and easily within reach. Okay. So now I think I'm going to so those points look like they're all roughly outside the head, but we want it to fill. I want these points to be further down. I'm also lazy, so I want to work as little as possible. So let's just grab these, go to front view, make sure we have transform around 3D cursor on, and we'll rotate in the Y and just rotate the whole thing down like that. And then we'll scale it in. And I think that's pretty good. Maybe some more. Oops, rotate in Y like that. Scale X, scale Y, Z. I don't think that saved any time. I think I could have just moved it manually and probably just as fast. So that didn't work. A, S, Z, and let's shorten this whole thing down. S, Z. So we're something like that. Let's make it a little bit skinnier. So S, Y, SX, so it's a bit skinnier. And then let's rotate this. So let's go to face mode and alt click. Let's turn off X-ray. Turn on proportional editing and RZ. Let's rotate it. Let's just rotate the whole thing. Okay, that's pretty good. Let's go back to our path. So number 4, we want number 4. And let's pull that, turn off proportional editing, pull that in, extrude, extrude, and extrude. I think that's okay. Let's see here. Maybe a little skinnier. A, S, Y. Oops. A, S. Oh, so you can see after I scaled it, now it's, after I rotated it, now it scales funny. And that's because if we turn this off, you can see that this is now at an angle. So scaling is not going to work super clean anymore. Which is, it's okay. What we can do is we can, let's see what we can do. We can do Alt S instead. So let's grab some of these, go to X-ray, ungrab those, and let's ungrab those. And then Alt S, and this just scales whatever faces you have selected normal in its normal direction. So you can see normals. Where was it? Oh, I could have sworn there was a. Oh, was that it? Okay, so this is the normals direction for each face. So if you hit Alt S, you can see it moves it. Like if you look at this, it's hard to see. If you look at this first one here, if you hit Alt S, you can see it moves it along that blue line. That's its normal direction. So it doesn't matter how it's scaled. Let's find the same one. So this is the same one right there. If you scale that, it moves around along its normal direction here too. So this is a nice way you can selectively scale even though the object is rotated. I hope that made sense. Alt S, I want to grab a few more faces here. I want to grab this row. So we'll do select M for more and M for more. And then we'll unselect these ends here. And then Alt S, scaled in. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Now let's pull some of these in. And then we will move it. Let's turn off X-ray and GX. Turn on proportional editing, GX, and let's scroll the mouse wheel to make it less powerful. GX and GY. And I think that's pretty good. Again, this is pretty rough, so you probably want to spend more time in this. But, well, it's a tutorial, so I'm going to go kind of quick here. Let's grab these edges here and turn off proportional editing and RX. And, okay, so I want this to be a little bit further forward. But if I just move it, then it's not squared up with its origin. If we know that we're done with this and we're not going to change it again, then yeah, you can probably go ahead and do that. But I might change this later, so I'm going to be safe and just, oops, grab these two and move them slightly forward. So I have it where I want it. Now I'm just making sure the front looks nice. We'll fix that up here. We'll fix this down here, but it looks like it's lined up nicely. Then I'll go back to edit this path and pull it up a bit. Okay, and then grab the mesh point and pull this, let's move this in, GY, GX, GX and GY, too much. Okay. Let's make this one a little bit nicer here. And let's pull this up. Like so. Okay, I think that's pretty good. And that's not a big deal there. Okay, so let's see here. I think we can use this same one and just duplicate it. So I'll grab this one here and its corresponding path, and then duplicate it. And let's just move it. So let's kind of move it in between. We'll put the root like right there. Okay, let's move this back in. Very close to the scalp. Let's pull that up here. Shift S and 2. And let's just rotate this in place first. RZ, let's turn on proportional editing, RZ, so the whole thing moves. And will this work? Looking at the hairline here. Oh, so the hair needs to all come forward quite a bit more. Okay, so let's do that. So let's grab these, GY to pull that forward. And I think these also need to come forward. Yeah, it looks too far back. I think these also have to come forward. So it's 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Let's move these all forward. Okay. Maybe we'll stagger this a little bit forward. Okay, I think that's better. So let's just make sure. Okay, so I've thrown everything off here. So I need to line up everything. So let's see if just moving it will help it. Okay, that seems okay. Let's move this one in also. 1 and 1. GX, pull that in. And let's Shift S and Shift S and 2. Okay, that's weird. Go to edit mode. Grab that. RZ. And let's just move the very end of this out. RZ, and let's scroll out. Okay, that's pretty good. And then let's see here. Maybe we'll rotate this too. RZ and increase the strength slightly. What's happening here? It's not liking my rotate. So I think I've edited this so much that now it's starting to get finicky. So, okay, that's good. This one looks pretty good. Now let's go and blend between this one and this one. So let's find number 5. So you can see here I'm starting to get a lot of pieces of hair. So I'm finding number 5 and a corresponding path, grabbing that. And let's move this kind of in between, like that. And let's pull this in like that. In fact, I think I'm going to have this piece of hair sit below this piece of hair here. Because right at the front, which is the only part I'm really concerned about right now, this hair is over it, and so this will fit nicely below it. So let's go and grab our hair and our path, and let's move this a bit lower. And bring it in. Let's grab our path now, go to edit mode. Let's just move this all in place here. So I'm going to have this top part, it's going to be below the hair up here, but the bottom part will be above this hair over here. So I'm just moving it so it's kind of in between the two. And then I'll rotate the mesh to make it blend nicely. Let's pull this down and like that. Get this one down here. And I think back here it'll probably just start to flatten out towards the head. Or maybe fill this hole there a bit. And we'll rotate this mesh to cover up this hole up here. That's pretty good. Grab the mesh here. Again, check this part that matters most, and that's pretty good. So now let's grab, say, those. Oh, make sure we got our 3D cursor in the right place. Shift S and 2. And then RZ. And something like that. So now it's going over this bottom hair, close to under this top hair. RZ. And some more RZ. Okay, let's individually push some of these in. Like that. Let's pull this one out here. And let's grab a edge. Did I get it? Yeah. RZ and okay. I think this hair is pulling up too much, so let's grab its corresponding path and pull it down a bit. Like that. So I'm looking down here to see how that looks. And I think that's better. Okay, now we got a little patch up here. Let's fix that. So we'll go to X-ray so we can see it, go to face mode and grab a few faces. Checking to see if the 3D cursor is in the right place, which it is. And then RZ, and I'm just going to pull that out. Okay. Okay, I think that works pretty good. It's really messed up back here, but that'll all be covered. but the front looks pretty nice. So let's go to object mode and mirror some of these. So go to mirror, grab our body, do the same thing a few times, mirror, grab the body, mirror, and after this you will know the mirror command by heart. Mirror, grab the body. Okay, so now she's got all the underneath hair. Now we can add the main hair to the top. Okay, so now let's see. We have the side hair done. We have the nape done. Next, we need to do the top sides, top hair. Okay, so next we're doing the main hair. This is like everything. Okay, you can see here the hair got a little bit too thick. So we lay these outer hairs over it. It'll have to cover that, so it'll push our hair out a bit. I think it's not too much, so it shouldn't be a big deal. If it is, we can always go back and just edit that. So next we will make this outer hair. So we're going to make this in halves, and this one will be just one giant piece. So let's, and we can see we're using some medium-sized ones, some small ones, and some big ones. So it's kind of a combination. Okay, so let's do that. So let's hide our example here. And let's make sure we got a top side folder that's not named weird. Maybe we just call this outer hair. Outer hair. That makes more sense. And then let's see, where do we start? Start from the back or start from the front? I think we will start from the front because that's what you see, and we can really kind of work on our character lines for the hair. So let's start from the front. So let's hide that. And let's start with this piece here. These two, they're a little bit thicker, so let's go for a medium piece. And we want to put this in outer hair, so Shift D, M, hair tubes and outer hair. Let's go to the side and move this in place. Let's move this towards the middle. Let's take a peek at what we're doing. Okay, so it starts, looks like it starts right in the middle, and it kind of peels out and goes down. So let's do that. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to rotate it so it's like a little fin. So it's thin. And we're going to rotate it so it gets wider. So we'll move the root right in the middle. Oh, what happened there? Did I? Oh, I don't have proportional editing on. I don't know why that's happening. That is, it looks like proportional editing is on, but it's not on, so that's, oh, I forgot. So it must be that the last hair I had selected before was this one right here. And even though it's not turned on, somehow it's selected. Doesn't look like it, but I bet you if we just select these two again, it's fine. Okay, so that was strange. So Let's get back on track here. We'll move this right to the middle like that. That's where it's going to come from. And I think this can go back a bit. I'm going to make it go a little bit further back to take into account how thick this hair is. So I think something like that is good. Grab the path, go to edit mode. Let's go to the front view and let's shape this to match our front. Let's see here. I'm going to move this template over so we can see it as we're working. GX, pull that there. Let's lock it. Grab our hair, jump to it, and grab the path. Okay. So let's just move. Let's just shape this control path to roughly match this hair. And again, this is getting really repetitive. It's the same thing over and over again. So if you've got it, just skip all this and just go to it. If you want to watch some more to just see if there are any other little tidbits that come up, then by all means keep watching. Okay, and it kind of comes down to here and peels out. Okay, let's grab this, Shift S and 2, edit mode, A to select all, S and Z, and let's just shorten this whole thing like that. Need some more geometry here, so Control R. And I think we'll need quite a bit in this top area to make this intricate curvature. Maybe one more. Okay. Now let's grab the path. So let's grab this path and let's see here. Let's shape it from the side a bit first. So we're just kind of roughing in with the path. We're going to obviously have to tweak this a bit more, but you can, we're just getting it started. So let's, so it kind of hangs down near the eye and then swings back over the shoulder, and it looks like it just kind of wavies. So let's do that. So let's see here. GY. So one thing here is from the front, I have the path roughly the way I want it. I don't want to change it by moving things up and down. You can see it'll change how the shape is, or the profile, or the read of this, path. So over here, if you move this up and down, it'll mess with that front view. So make sure when you move this, only move it forward and backwards. This will help you not get confused when you see the front and it's all messed up and you're like, what happened? Okay, let's pull this back. Was the ear exposed? No. Kind of goes back over the shoulder and then peels back in and kind of wavies back out again. Okay. Let's make this mesh a bit longer. Edit mode, ASZ. Okay. We need to work on her face, but it's okay. We can sculpt this later so she looks better. Right now she looks a little bobbleheady. She's kind of bobbleheady. But let's finish our hair. So let's grab this guy here. So I think the curve is close. Let's move this out a bit. Maybe more like that. Let's pull this in more like that. Okay. So let's see here. I think maybe a little bit further forward. Oops. Okay. And I think up here, we don't have a sketch of it, but I believe up here this hair wouldn't go straight out. I think it'd come forward a bit and back, so let's do that too. With proportional editing turned off. Let's just go a bit like that. Okay, so I think that's going to be good. So let's grab our mesh here. Let's make sure our 3D cursor is where it should be. Go to edit mode. So from the front, it's a nice little fin. And from the side, let's rotate it in Z with proportional editing turned on. RZ. And something like that, maybe a little bit more. Maybe the curve is not right. No, that's worse. I think that was good. Select MM, RZ. Okay, I think that's better. Okay, so it gets a bit thicker there. And over here, it looks like it narrows again. That's kind of there. So maybe we do a bit more over here. RZ. And no, this one. RZ. And then it looks like well, I can't really tell what happens here. I think the sketch just kind of gets mixed and jumbled. So let's just say it gets a bit thicker here. And that's kind of boxy, so let's add some geometry. Okay. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. I think it needs to get thicker. Yeah, let's make it thicker. So let's grab this and grab a row here and SY. Let's put smooth on. And let's do that. Okay. better. Let's rotate this a bit more. And let's edit this path a little bit more so it comes out. This first hair here, this character line for the hair, I'm pretty sure it's going to be overlaying the hair that's behind it, right? So this first piece here will be on top of the hairs that are behind it. And so right now it's too close to the scalp or the hair cap. So let's pull it out so it has some breathing room. So this will start to, it might start to deviate from our concept sketch a little bit. We can always throw in some more hair to get it closer, or mess with it more when it's done. It's a very iterative process. So you have to kind of go back and, you know, add more stuff, fix it, add more stuff and fix it. It's a lot of, the hair takes a lot of artistic feeling, I guess. Okay, so that's our first piece of main hair. And so I'm going to kind of keep going here and adding more and more pieces of hair. It's going to be the same thing over and over again, and so it may possibly get boring. So I'm going to do a couple, and then I'm going to stop narrating, and I'm just going to fast forward it, and maybe I'll watch it while it's playing fast forwarded and just talk through it here and there. But let's do one more. Let's go over here. So next we're going to do, let's see here. What do we want to do? We could do a hair up here. Or we could put a hair on the bottom. Let me see here. Let's move that. Let's move that. So I'm thinking here, if the hair blows aside, like if this strand, and say if this one's behind it, if the hair blows aside, what are they going to see, and will it look funny? And so I think if this hair blows aside, you'll see these roots going straight back, and so it might be a little bit funny. So I think what I'm going to do is add another dangly piece like this right below it, and that's going to peel away from here and kind of come down. Yeah. Okay. So let's do that, and I think I'm going to duplicate this. No, I'm not. I'm going to get another one. Let's get a small one here. Shift D, move, hair tools, outer hair, front view. I've been getting weird problems when these are both orange, so I'm going to control click one of those. And make sure nothing's, okay, so nothing's moving weird. So let's move this so we can see our sketch. This is 4 and 4. So let's see, it's easier. So I think I'm going to start the hair right around here and have it peel down on the, so we'll start it here and have it peel down and kind of follow one of these inner hairs. So we will, oops, grab number 4 and number 4 and move these over here. Oh, look, our hair is not. This tip should come all the way to the root here. So let's see here. Let's see if we can rotate this. RX, RX. No, I don't like that. Let's first make sure, okay, this is at an angle, so let's first make sure this is perpendicular to the center plane. And then we'll do RX. And that's better. No, it's scaling funny. RY. RX. Scale X. You can see it gets a little weird to work with. RZ. Okay, I think that's better. Yeah. Maybe I pull the whole thing down a bit, because the hair feathers out so it's invisible, so it looks like invisible hair is growing from the scalp. So let's just pull this down just a tiny bit. If you have too much overlap with these transparent hairs, it starts to look like, hey, why is this this thing, poking through? If it's too little, then you see a gap in between, so you kind of strike a balance. So I think that's pretty good. And I think now this is all boxy. I like to model with that on. Sorry, with flat faces on, because I feel like you can read the form better, but now I'm trying to kind of artistically compare the face to the hair, and it's distracting me, so let's make that smooth. So shade smooth, and it's kind of this weird, so you select your faces, so you go to edit mode, go to face mode, A to select all, then go to faced, shade smooth, and there's this weird thing about it, and I don't know why it happens, but it seems like you need to turn on this other setting to make it work better. So turn on auto smooth and put this to like 180. I guess it looks the same, but it seems like it in the past it's messed me up. So make sure you turn on your smooth faces up here, and then turn on auto smooth down here under object data properties. Okay. Now let's do this too. A face shade smooth, auto smooth, 180. Okay. Okay, I think that's pretty good. So now let's go and grab our second piece of outer hair, pick its corresponding path. Let's move it back to where you want to go. This is kind of a slow, painful process. I like to use a paid plugin called Hair Tools. It does a different style of hair. You couldn't use it for 3D printing like you can with this hair. And it's somewhat higher poly than this, but it gets really great results. Number four. And I'll make another tutorial. I was gonna do just this tutorial, but it seemed like there was a lot of interest to see both ways to make hair, with hair tools and without. So following this hair tutorial, I'll do hair tutorial on how to use that plugin called Hair Tools. Amazing plugin. let's make sure our 3D cursor is where it's supposed to be. Grab this, turn off proportional editing. So the reason why I just backed up a few steps was because I had proportional editing turned on. When I moved this, I saw that it moved the first point of this path. And then I thought, well, maybe I moved stuff away from the origin point, and I don't want to do that. So I just undid it and I redid it again. It's this method requires you to be very clean. Okay. So we can't really see in the sketch what's going on. I guess you kind of can. So it's kind of gets covered up here. And it kind of comes out down there. So let's, kind of imagine what we think is happening. So it's kind of following the outer hair, but coming in more. And then let's just kind of, fake it. Okay. Grab this. A, S, Z, and let's squish this down. We'll add some geometry. Okay. So now let's grab this path and move it from the side view. And let's see here. So I don't have any sketches of what these inner hairs do. So maybe it's hidden from the side up here, and maybe it starts to appear down by the ear and it kind of zigzags. So let's do that. So that's hidden. And remember, we're only moving it back and forth in Y. So it's hidden here. And then it starts to appear. Okay. Let's pull that back a bit. Pull this forward some. And let's pull this back with proportional editing turned on. And so I've got proportional editing turned on, so it kind of curves smoothly. But this is kind of an interesting illustration for how these curves work. So let's see. Okay, so if you grab the very tip, so I want it to curve. I want it to curve outwards, like this path here. I want it to curve out nicely like that. If you grab the point and just pull it back with proportional editing turned on, it should kind of do that. But if you do that, you can see that it pulls it, but it comes back down in an S curve. That's because the nature of how this curve works. I don't understand how these work, but it's but this is what I've noticed. I can't mathematically explain it. If you go with sharp, you can see that it does more like what we're expecting, because I guess somehow the nature of this curve and this icon here does what's happening here. If you go to sphere, you can see it kind of keeps this flat here, and it curves as it goes away from the starting vertex. So kind of interesting little thing I just noticed I thought I'd explain. Let's just move that back here and move that back there. Okay. I can't see. The hair is so shiny I can't see the hair. Okay, so it's poking through. Okay, so let's get this hair to nest nicely with the skull. So let's grab that and put this on smooth. RZ. And this is too far from the scalp. Let's check this. You know, it's underneath the skull. You probably would never, underneath the other hairs, you probably never notice it. But, well, it only takes a second, so let's just move this in place a little better. And I think I changed my mind. So this hair here is like a little fin coming out. And this next hair, oh, I turned off. Okay, so this first hair here is like a little fin. This next hair, it is a fin, but I'm going to use this second hair just as a filler to fill this space a bit. I already have a skull cap in place, but I want to have a filler piece that looks like it's flowing down. So instead of having this second piece as a fin, I'm going to have it wider. So let's see here. So let's grab these guys and let's move it over. Like that. Let's grab this and let me see here. Okay, so I think we need to, so this hair is going directly to the side, so it's not going to move like we want it. So let's turn off proportional editing and then let's move this up and forward. Like, I think like that. Let's grab the mesh and rotate it in Z with proportional editing turned on. Go back to our path. And I think what we want to do is we want to subdivide that. Okay, so that's starting to do, we're actually asking the geometry to twist and bend quite a bit in a very small area. So whenever you do that, it starts to make it difficult for the computer to do it in any 3D program. I didn't have the 3D cursor in the right place, so hopefully I didn't mess things up. I just fixed it. So let's pull that in. Rotate this in Z. So I'm going to line this line up here roughly with this line right there. And I think that looks about right. Okay, and then let's grab the hair and the corresponding path. This is kind of the hardest part of this whole thing. It's these front few pieces of hair. Okay, so let's see here. Let's turn that on. Oh, our hair is transparent. It's messing things up. So let's grab these and pull them in. So you can see if it goes too much, you can kind of see it poking through. That's not so bad. But if you bury it in the skull cap hair, it is just invisible. Okay, so I think I'm liking that now. So now, if you're looking up her nose and you happen to see that this hair up here, you'll see like it looks like it peels away from the hairline nicely. So now let's get this piece of hair covering this second one. Let's pull this back. Hair takes forever. Okay. The hair's so shiny I can't even see what's going on. It's kind of nice because it kind of makes the hair all blend together into one thing, but it makes it awful hard to see what's going on. Okay. This is a face shade smooth. Let's grab this. Do the same thing here. A face shade smooth. Auto smooth. I think this auto smooth, it's only necessary if you're creasing edges. I think. I don't remember. And let's see here. Let's go and change these also, so this way we're not doing this over and over and over again. That would get really annoying. Auto smooth. Put this here. Face shade smooth. Okay. So now at least when we copy these over and over again, they won't be all boxy like this one here. And do that. Okay. So how is our hair looking the same? No, it's not. So I think this outer hair needs to kind of come up more and then flow down. Number three. And let's subdivide this. Nope. Let's do. Oh man. You can see when you move the second vertex, it changes the rotation. So I was trying to not do that, but I think we need to. So I'll need to re-rotate the whole hair. But now our hair is looking better, I think. Maybe one more. Okay, let's grab our mesh. And let's make sure our 3D cursor's in the right place and rotate it in Z like RZ. Okay. I think that's thin here, which is nice. It's thick there, which is nice, but I think it gets thinner up here. So it's RZ, and let's turn on a little bit of proportional editing. Okay. And this looks really flat. Let's go to object mode, grab our path. Why is that so flat? Okay. Looks like our hair here is intersecting this the lower side here. So let's fix that a bit. You're gonna get intersecting hair. That's why the hair cards technique is kind of nice because it hides it better. This one, it's very hard to hide it. So kind of do your best to make the intersections as unnoticeable as possible. In the hair's like default resting state. When you animate it or move it, it's going to get visible, and you can't help it. But if you make the your neutral model hide it better, it just reduces the visibility. Let's make sure our 3D cursor is at the right place. Let's shape this hair. I don't like how it's so abrupt there. Scale Y. Let's okay. I notice hair looks nicer when it goes from thick to thin in a smooth way. So you can see from the front read here, it's thin here and it gets wider there, then thins out a bit, then it gets wider there. So it's trying, our concept sketch is 2D, so it's very different. You can control the view. Our model is 3D, so you can see it from all sides. So, you just try and get it to look like from any view the hair is going from thick to thin here. So this view, it's great. We've got a thin, a thick, you even have a wraparound. Maybe we make it look thicker down here. By rotating it. Like that. Which is kind of nice. But then from this view here, you can see it's like, okay, it's thinner, it gets thicker there a bit, kind of bumpy. And then it's just kind of like flat. So maybe we scale this also here. So I'm adding more geometry. Kind of be really careful about how much geometry you add, because the more you add, the heavier your model gets. You don't want to make it too heavy. But you want it to look nice too. And what's nice is, later on you can use a decimate tool to make it lighter, or you can selectively take out some loops. So, it's not, it means more work, but you can fix some of it and lighten it later. That's how you make relatively low poly hair in Blender. I'll go through the rest of the hair, so feel free to watch it if you want to, but it'll be the same thing over and over again. So if you get it, then just go to it and make your own hair. here's the final hair. If you want to smooth things out, you can add a sub D modifier to it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. If you want to see more content like this, please leave a comment or subscribe or support me on Patreon. And in our next video, we will create the eyelashes and the eyebrows. Thanks for watching.